Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another 50 Acres Academy webinar. Please let me know if you're having problems hearing me. I've got a slightly different audio setup now. So if you are having problems hearing me, do just drop a note in the questions area and I will try and adjust it. But I hope that you can all hear me. So if you do have questions through today, please don't hesitate to actually drop a note of them in the question area, and then I'll get to them as we proceed. I think that's probably the easiest thing, if that suits you all, and we will progress as we go, which is great. So I'm not sure about you, but I've been staying up late watching the Olympics, as our front page of our website indicates. And so have a lot of the people that work with us. So I'm sure some of you have been watching it. I'm not sure about productivity levels at this time of the season every 4 years, but I think it's an important thing that we all do. But nonetheless, the other thing that I've been noticing is the Pokemon rage. And now, as a necessarily follow-on, my 14-year-old son tells me the Pokemon demise. Well, the slight falling off of Pokemon, which is not, I think, going to impact on our use of augmented reality, which is what we're going to look at today. So it's not just about Pokemon itself per se. It's about augmented reality and what that means for us. We've all got with the program in terms of email, internet. We no longer answer questions; we just Google them. There is a complete change in the way that we do and think about things, but I think augmented reality is taking us in a slightly different direction, which is what we're going to look at today, which I hope you're all going to have a bit of fun with. So don't hesitate to jump in and ask questions at any stage, and I'll get to them as we go, which is great. So in terms of sorry, I'm just dealing with my slide pack. So this is quite normal, and I'm sure some of you have seen it. This is in Canberra. Two people in a kayak staring at their phones. Pokemon Go is getting serious. I mean, it happens everywhere. My daughter was trying to use it the other day in the car, and it was saying to her, "You are driving too fast. You can't drive as well as looking for Pokemons." And obviously, it's a sort of perhaps an update of the app so to prevent people sort of having head-on collisions at the same time as looking for Pokemons. I mean, this I suppose is an example of where augmented reality is going, and we'll explore Pokemon Go as a phenomena in itself, but then look at it beyond that and see where it's going to take us. I'm sure we've all heard reports and seen reports of people bumping into each other, people congregating in Central Park in the US or in New York, or various sort of suburbs around Australia, or indeed anywhere in the world, looking for rare or any, in fact, Pokemons. And why are we doing it? It's an interesting question. So Pokemon, really, to put simply, I don't know, I mean, I'd be interested to see whether any of you are actually doing it or just sort of observing it. But really, Pokemon is a game played on your smartphone that involves catching a variety of cartoon figures, and I'm sure some of you have heard of them before this particular recent phenomena. I never was involved with the first craze, and I've downloaded it on my phone, but I haven't really spent a lot of time on it. So, it's a game that uses augmented reality, which is in the parlance of this stuff, AR. Players are tracked in space and time using their smartphone's GPS system and also a clock. The game is overlaid on Google Maps as well, and Google indeed has a great deal of access to our information, which they've had to modify, supposedly. Players visit landmarks and pinpointed locations taken from a catalogue of users' submitted points of interest from previous augmented reality games, or a game called Ingress. Big landmarks or small points of interest are repositories for poke balls and other equipment used to catch Pokemon. A range of different kinds of Pokemon appear randomly throughout the day. The aim of the game is to catch them all, and there's 150 something of them or something around that to be able to catch. Different Pokemon live in different places. So, for example, water Pokemon live in water. There's nocturnal Pokemon. There are diurnal Pokemon, which encourages players to travel far and wide and at different times of the day at all hours, really. The appearance of Pokemon is the same for all players. The game uses a single server source, which is why you will see large gatherings of people in the one place. They're all hoping to catch that same Pokemon. They all can catch it, but they all have to be in that place to catch it, which is why we've seen, huge groups of people meeting together or accidentally meeting together. We've seen you can get Pokemon at Parliament House, and I'm sure you can probably get them inside the building, through to the White House in the North Fountain, through to, a range of, cities and places around the world. Indeed, if we're trying to catch them all, maybe we could all book a holiday, which would be rather indulgent. To much more obscure places, obviously on the coast or in different places of walks, statues, traffic control boxes. They can be anywhere. And the guy says here, thanks to Pokemon, I've now discovered many great landmarks in my own area, which is just terrific, really, if you think about it. So I'll just show you this video, which hopefully will launch and will work. Let me just see whether that works.
So at the beginning, we're going to launch with the red and blue Pokemon, but we're going to gradually add more and more, and eventually you'll be able to catch them all.
All right, sounds great. あと2つ目の、
Your other question as well.
捕まり、どんなところにどんなポケモンがいるか、これはちょっと野村さんの方から話してもらった方がいいです。
So I think I'll actually have Tatsuo field your question about, which Pokemon.
Oh, sorry. There you go. We're not going to go for the cute baby. Can't leave the dog alone. Don't worry about that. So that gives you a little bit of a feel for it. So for those who haven't seen it or jumped on, it's a bit of a feel for it. If you've got any children or kids or adolescents nearby, have a look over their shoulder. They're probably playing it or have been. So the background about the game itself. It's created, it's undoubtedly the most successful mobile game ever. Created by Niantic, a company that was once part of Google but is now independent, based on a Game Boy game created in Japan in 1995, which involved catching pocket monsters, Pokemon as we now know them. The game was highly popular and developed into a media franchise encompassing electronic games, animated cartoons, movies, books, and toys. Pokemon Go was released on July the 6th, 2016, so that's only a little more than a month ago, in Australia, New Zealand, and the USA. It's still slowly being released across the rest of the world. It's free to play, but you can buy virtual objects to speed up your progress. In fact, my son has learned how to hack it so that he can get access to and find other Pokemon. Within 2 days of release, it was installed on 5.16% or 5.16% of Android phones in the United States In less than a week, it was the most downloaded app in Apple's App Store. Users were spending an average of 43 minutes a day on it, more than Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. The game has been installed on more than 125 million phones. It generated $200 million in US in revenue in 1 month. So clearly it's been a phenomena which, whether or not it's true or not, my 14-year-old son says it seems to be not as popular. It's like a lot of things, when we all got onto Angry Birds and now we're not. These things rise and fall, but it's what it represents that I think we're interested in thinking about today. So why is the game significant? Well, Pokemon Go is the first instance of augmented reality that has achieved mainstream status. Creators of AR, augmented reality, have been trying for years to demonstrate the technology is ready for people. Pokemon Go proved that people are actually ready for AR as well. So, we can see another screenshot here. There's thousands of them. If you look on, Twitter or Facebook, or just search in Google browser, you'll find lots and lots of stuff in terms of screenshots of stuff that shows what people are doing. So what's the difference between AR, augmented reality, and VR, virtual reality? Now, that's an interesting question. I don't know whether any of you have ever experienced either of them. We've recently done some work with a company down in Canberra who were launching a number of, sort of new and interesting developments, new apartment blocks who've got all sorts of people like Tetsuya and all sorts of people behind them. And they've used virtual reality to create a sense of what it would be like to stand on the top floor of this particular building. So this was the highest building to be built in Canberra. And so the feeling that they created was with the virtual reality goggles was how it felt and smelt, and the wind and the smells and all sorts of things with the goggles and some other sensory things that were going on when people were wearing them, and it was a really interesting experience. So virtual reality, both VR and AR rely on similar technology, but there's very much a fundamental difference between the two of them. VR is fully immersive and requires specialized equipment, the sort of stuff that you see here. VR is a fully immersive experience, so it's isolating a person from their real surroundings to place them in a completely virtual world that they are locked into until they remove the VR apparatus. VR generally requires special and often expensive technology, e.g., for example, headsets such as Oculus Rift, consoles such as HTC Vive or Vive. Let me know if any of you have experienced either of them. It'd be interesting to know. Augmented reality, really, it's a blend of virtual reality, VR, and real life. It can be accessed on a smartphone. Sorry, someone's saying that they're having a few audio issues. Rachel, can you hear me? There's a point of nothing. Okay, I'm not sure whether that just might be my reception. So just stay with me. This will be recorded as well and will be up on our YouTube channel a bit later today, and we'll also send you the slide pack as well, so you've got it. Yeah, okay. Sorry, Rachel, if you're having audio problems. So a blend of virtual elements and real life. People interact with virtual objects or characters within the framework of their own real surroundings. It can be easily accessed on a smartphone with no additional accessories needed. And even though you do need equipment for VR, as we just said, what is interesting, there is now some cheaper goggles that are being made available, and so you can get cardboard goggles that will attach to a phone. for example. And Roz is saying she's got some issues with the sound. Are you hearing more than you're not hearing, I'm hoping, so that people can actually hear me? I'm hoping that that is the case. So who cares about this, really? Why are we even having a think about it? AI will continue to grow in popularity. I think mainstream adoption of technology offers a world of opportunities to media producers, marketers, publicists, and anyone with a story to tell. Big business will benefit in a big way using Pokemon Go as an advertising platform. For example, McDonald's in Japan was first winning a partnership that put 3,000 of its restaurants in the app, which obviously is helpful if people are trying to grow, their business and attract people to their location. So small businesses are also cashing in. You can, pay to have, a lure to lure people or to lure Pokemons to where you are. So you can actually, I think the cost is actually very, very inexpensive. It's actually an opportunity to get your business into the app or in some way interact with the app as well. So in terms of ideas for small business or organisations and how they might be able to use it, here are some of them really, and I think there's no end to what we could do with it. So if there's a Pokestop near your business, purchase a lure. Lures attract Pokemon, which in turn attract people, obviously, particularly if it's, if you're trying to attract, a youth, adolescent, teenage, cohort to your business. That's really a perfect combination. Lures cost $1.49 and last for 30 minutes. A full 8 hours of foot traffic boosting costs less than $24, which is, in terms of boosting a post on Facebook or on Twitter, it's incredibly cheap. And, may actually, if you've got something to sell or give or do, then people can obviously, utilise it. And in fact, we'll get onto the organisations in a second, but, Hillary Clinton, for example, and other, political operatives in the States are using Pokemon, sort of interaction to set up times where they recruit people to the Democrats or to the Republicans. You can reward customers who set lures at your business with discounts or freebies. And you could also reward customers who find Pokemon inside your business with discounts and freebies. There's a whole lot of options that you potentially could examine. What about for not-for-profits? What could you do? Now, there's a lot of people who are actually, playing around with this and having a think about it, how it might be able to be used. Not-for-profits, can also use the game's widespread appeal, I think, to promote their messages. Here's a really good example of one. This is out of the UK, but, and it's been tweeted as a screenshot, but, the Canal River Trust is people saying that, make sure you stay safe if you're catching a Pokemon on the canal you don't want to fall in. But it's a way of them talking about the fact that they exist and they care about canals and getting people, walking down canals. I don't know whether any of you have ever lived or worked in or been to London and walked around. There's an extensive canal system in London and much of the UK, and they are quite popular places for people to walk around. Also again in the UK, the Trade Union Council have been using it, and a whole range of other not-for-profits and campaigns have been using it as well. They've been encouraging people to find Pokeballs outside the HQ. Here they say the first 12 players to come in and say hi get a free donut on us too, which, is a way of people coming in, interacting. I suppose the purpose of, or one of the the positives offshoot of this game and augmented reality games or interactions in and of themselves is the fact that they do potentially encourage people to interact with each other in a real way, in a real physical way, in terms of actually being able to speak to someone in a real someone in front of you and communicating sense rather than virtually or online or via email. Here, Greenpeace Brazil, I can't read Portuguese, but it says here on the left, butterfree is not endangered, but in the heart of the Amazon, there are 302 types of butterflies that are. So I think that's it's a perfect way of connecting the app and particular Pokemon in the app to a particular cause. So what comes next for Pokemon Go? Well, more sponsored Pokemon locations, I think, more opportunities for big advertising. Niantic CEO John Hankey has said publicly that he wants to move to a sponsored location model rather than an in-app purchase model, which means you've got opportunities to, sponsor locations rather than getting people to buy things in the app. So what they're encouraging there is some of their main money stream is people optimizing this platform, people like us, people who want to advertise or attract people to do something rather than us jumping on the app and wanting to buy more and more Pokemons because they're there and we spend money to do that. So it's a good model for us to be able to interact with this platform in terms of advertising and activating people. The introduction of social features, I think, including trading, which will allow players to interact within the game, is being planned, I think, and improved usability and integration with other technologies such as fitness trackers, desktop TVs, etc. A rumored ambition of the company is to develop a contact lens so the augmented reality can actually be viewed through one's own eyes. Now, whether that's actually happening or not, I don't know, but that's one of the rumors that are sort of kicking around. But wouldn't that be interesting if that's the case? It's sort of an extension of Google Eye, really taking it onto another level. So augmented reality is not only Pokemon Go, which is the point that we made right at the very beginning. Someone's just said to me they don't have any sound at all. Heather Noakes, do you have anything back at all? Does anyone else have problems with the sound? I'm hoping that you can hear it. It's indicating on my thing that I've got sound, so I'm sorry if you don't. So what's where else is this going? What else is happening in this space? There are several other not-for-profits that have used AR in a whole lot of creative and clever ways. Thanks, Heather, for letting us know. I'm sorry about the indifferent sound today. I only live half an hour outside of Canberra, but the NBN has driven past me and didn't stop, I think. I'm not sure that we're going to get it. So Norwegian People's Aid, I won't pronounce the name in Norwegian, my apologies. It used augmented reality to create a virtual minefield inside a shopping centre to illustrate the dangerous threat of stepping on a landmine at any time. Let me just show you. I'll show you this little video. So that's a pretty good example, I think, of the way a not-for-profit has used it. The thing I did see in there, it was one of the guys was using an incredibly small phone, I think. It was an iPhone. It looked even smaller than an iPhone, so I'm not sure what that was. But anyway. So it's a really good example, isn't it, of a way that an organisation is using it. There's all sorts of potential. Obviously, it requires some investment, but not necessarily, formidable amount of investment. If you had some support from people who are developers who might be able to do some work with you, either at a low budget or pro bono, then you may even be able to do something like that yourself. This is pretty interesting and pretty exciting development, I thought. The WWF, the Wildlife Fund, WWF China created an app that showed a virtual bear interacting with real surroundings. The bear would bump into walls, trip down stairs, get run over by moving cars, and was generally defenseless against humans, illustrating the trouble animals have when displaced from their natural habitat, and that human development is contributing to a loss of 30,000 hectares of wildlife forest homes, which disappear each day. So that was an interesting way of utilising, an app that sort of took the user into something real and three-dimensional in a AR sort of way. Museum of London's Street Museum, I don't know whether any of you have interacted or seen this at all, been over to the UK and had a look at this. Its goal was 5,000 downloads. They actually got 125,000 downloads, and visitors to the museum tripled. The Museum of London created the Street Museum app using their extensive photo, painting and illustrations collection. The app would identify a user's location and overlay images so they could see what the place used to look like. They were aiming for as I said, 5,000, but they got 125,000 downloads. So again, an AR sort of thing where, reality and, what you begin to question what reality is, and that is the purpose in many respects of AR. I had an interesting program on something on Radio National a week or two ago where philosophers were talking about AR, and there is one school of thought in philosophy in the last, which has sort of had a bit of a sort of, I suppose, an emergence in the last 5, 6, maybe 8 years, where a school of philosophers now believe that we are actually all living in virtual reality. We are just a virtual reality game, and there's not sure who it is that's making the game work, but they must have a lot of time on their hands. And there's an increasing school of thought that, in fact, that's what we are doing. And whether or not it's God or whether or not it's someone else, this is a serious school of thought with academics and philosophers, which was examined on Radio National. Sort of did my head in, but I was interested in listening to it nonetheless. So this is another example of how it was overlaid, which is actually quite beautiful, actually, if you look at it. I don't know whether anyone's been to London or seen this particular app, but it's pretty spectacular. So where are we going with this looking forward? Augmented reality will have, I think, many applications. AR is already expanding beyond gaming to communications and marketing. It will be applied in many fields, from training to engineering to art and much more, I think. Imagine pointing your phone at a painting in a gallery to get more information on it, or using an AR app to virtually try on clothes before you purchase them online. The applications are extraordinarily numerous and limitless, really, depending on our imagination. Consider how one game influenced millions of people worldwide. I mean, just in the last month or so, we've all heard about it. It got millions of people off the couch and out into the real world, where they engage with others in the space doing in the space, doing the same thing. Real world people to people connections were inspired by technology, and they then came together to share a space. So, with metadata, people willingly are handing over very valuable metadata by enabling location services and access to their Google accounts, which is what we had to do to get on to the Pokemon app, as you all probably know. So to conclude, and if anyone's got any questions, please jump in now because we're just about to conclude. But Pokemon Go was able to achieve the success it did due to the convergence of some powerful smartphone technology, faster and more robust networks, a new generation of computer infrastructure, and data collection. As all of these things continue to improve, sorry, I'm hearing myself back, sorry. As all of these things continue to improve and develop, the boundaries between reality, technology, and the virtual world will really further, I think, blur and eventually dissolve. And whether or not we're all living in an app, a virtual reality game or not, which I sort of doubt. I think that there is limitless possibility with this technology, which I think is fascinating, and I'm sure we'll probably revisit this in a year or so, and it will have moved on quite considerably. If anyone's got any questions, please do jump in now because we're about to jump off the webinar. But in terms of next month's webinar, it's going to be on 11 a.m. Thursday, September the 22nd. And the subject for next month is live video streaming. Is it a gimmick or is it a change maker? Which I think is interesting in terms of all the different ways that people are looking at doing that. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's been lovely to have you with us on the webinar, and have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics. Enjoy the beginning of spring, and thank you so much.